Well, hello everybody. Good morning to you all. I see you're all coming in your droves now into the chat. We've got about just over 100 people, and I'm sure a few more people will join. So that's fantastic. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Today's webinar is focused on direct bookings, the importance of direct bookings, practical strategies, good tips, talking points on how to increase your direct bookings. Obviously, it's a difficult time at the moment, and bookings and revenue is king. So the more easy actions we can implement, the better. And so very, very happy to have Damian Sheridan with us today. He'll be sharing with us some of his knowledge and expertise on the matter. The webinars we're doing really are focused on bringing people from the sector together, sharing ideas, sharing experiences and knowledge, and really, a focus on positivity and really, putting in place things that can help us move forward, not just now, but for the future as well, of course. So a big thank you to you all for joining us. Thank you to Miriam and Nicole and all of the marketing team for putting this together as well. I'll hand it over to Damian in a moment. Just a note is that we will be doing a Q&A section at the end. So down at the bottom, I think, of the screen, you will see a chat box. So please feel free to leave some questions, and Damian and I will do our best to answer them at the end. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Damian to introduce himself. Damian. Good
Hello,
morning.
everyone. Hello, Avantio guys. I'm Damian Sheridan. I'm from Ireland. I brought up in Ireland, lived in the UK for 20 odd years, and then I've moved to Spain over the last couple of years, although I'm kind of between Spain and the UK. My involvement in our industry goes back to about 2003, when I bought an apartment in southern Spain, and I started renting it out. Those were very different days. 17 years ago, there was no Airbnb, and a lot of other online portals were very, very different in those days. So I started out building a website, a truly horrific website that was very different and very clunky, a lot more so than it is today. There was no easy CMSs like WordPress or anything. So I go back a long way. Most of my bookings back in those days came by print advertising, and I guess that's hard to believe for a lot of people these days. A different era, cards in local shop windows, etc. But yeah, so I traditionally I've worked in business travel up until about 7 years ago, when I made the move into SEO, and since then I've been working almost exclusively on SEO, which is search engine optimization, and for vacation rental managers and property managers. And more recently, that's led to a couple of events, just all related to the direct booking movement. So that's me in a nutshell, Carl.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you for that. So we are talking about direct bookings today. That is the topic of the call. And I think it's important to give a definition of what we mean by a direct booking. So what is a direct booking? What's the definition?
Yeah, it's a surprisingly tricky one to answer, and obviously a lot of people do ask me this. Some people would say that a direct booking, must come through your website, for example, just come to you directly. I would slightly differ on that. My main criteria for a direct booking is one that you've got full control over. It's one where you've got full access to your guest data, and you can communicate with them in any way you want. You're not reliant on a third-party platform, and where you can apply your own conditions, the payment terms, methods of payments, cancellations, deposits, etc. You've got full control over that booking. So that, for me, is the definition of a direct booking, Carl. Yeah, and I believe they can still come from third parties and listing sites, where you can pay a subscription, and you get the full details sent to you, and then the booking is yours for you to take over and for you to work on that data. You still there, Kyle? Kyle, can you still hear me?
Looks like Kyle has frozen. Let me just see if I can get him. Yeah.
It looks like he's just pensively thinking about all I've just said.
Yeah, he looks deep in thought. I think he's trying to reconnect now. Hang on a second.
Okay.
This is going to be one hell of an answer.
Yeah. Chris, if you're still there, do you want me just to start just beginning about a couple of ways just to drive direct bookings?
Yeah, I think so. I think Kyle's just contacted me, said he accidentally got dropped out of the meeting, but he'll be back in shortly. So yeah, Damian, if you want to continue with what you planned, we can try to get
Sure. Yeah. I'm not sure what Kyle necessarily wanted to follow on with there, but I'll let him come back to it. But as an SEO, I primarily work with owners on their websites and, well, on various platforms, but predominantly on their websites just to help them get more traffic. So I think I know there are a lot of ways really to make sure you can, during this quieter time, work on your website. And I'll give you a couple of examples of that. I really don't want to talk too much about the COVID situation. We're all struggling. Some may struggle just to get through the next couple of days or weeks, etc. But I think hopefully if we can just all look to the future and positively and kind of think we will come out of this someday. Hopefully it's not going to be too long. But yeah, I'll give you just a couple of ideas in terms of your website. This is assuming everyone has a website, of course. I would hope so. If you don't, this is the perfect time to create a new website. And whether you work with the Avantio guys or whether you're working on WordPress, which would be my platform of choice, it's a great time to work on it with your content, new content. Great time to be working on publishing new copy. Various things. I would suggest making sure your website is running fast and has got good page speed loading. There are various tools to use, GT metrics and Google page speed insights. I would definitely recommend. Making sure your site, you've got a security certificate is very important. Making sure your booking funnel and your sales funnel is actually streamlined. And what I mean by this is that inevitably or most likely on your website, you will have a booking button whereby people either can book straight there and then, or they might have to go off to another platform. But just to make that process as simple as possible and to reduce the amount of clicks on there, because with every extra click your visitor has to make, you are more likely to use them. Some statistics suggest that you're going to lose 50% of people with every extra click. So try and minimize the amount of clicks. Don't be upselling anything before they actually buy. You don't need to register them before they buy. Get that sale in first of all before you actually try to do anything else. And I would certainly suggest getting your friends and family to go through that booking funnel and just see, hey, is this as easy as I think it is to make a booking on our site? Because I come across this a lot of sites, it's not easy to book, and it should be really straightforward. Trust in your website is of utmost importance. There's various ways of doing this. Making sure your site is secure, first of all, is hugely important with that HTTPS security certificate. But also making sure if you've got any accreditations, local memberships, Chamber of Commerce's or anything like that, that you have those up front and center. People can see you're a member of certain associations. It instills trust in your visitor when they come on. Also, if you are verified, I'm not sure if Chris from iPrac is listening, but the iPrac have a great platform where they can verify your agency or your properties, and it just lets your visitor know that you are that there is no risk of fraud or anything like that. You are a legitimate offering and a legitimate business. What else would I suggest? Video is an amazing tool and so underutilized by most, even big property management companies. For a start, great way of keeping people on your site for longer, which search engines like Google love, but also just really engages people. And people can kind of, they can see either on your site, on your YouTube channel even, they can see what you're all about. And I would suggest you have interviews with yourself, but also your property, walk them through your property, walk them through your local area, and let them know what you're all about. It certainly makes your business less anonymous and a bit more open and a bit more friendly, for want of a better word. And guest reviews as well, something that I must admit I'd never really even thought of up until about a year ago. We all have our testimonials or review pages on our site, but getting your previous guests to actually send through a video of them talking about your property and their stay at your property. It's such a relatively easy thing to do, and you can incentivize them with discounts to do that. But then if you, on your homepage or on your testimonials page, if you can actually embed a video or two of your previous clients telling your prospective clients how great their stay was, it's really easy and a really great way to make your reviews stand out a little bit more.
Sorry to interrupt, Damian. Can you hear me? Am I back?
I can hear you. You're back. You look like this for quite a while. I thought you were just thinking about the answers.
Right. Okay. Well, that was perfect time to have the internet go down. Sorry about that, everyone. Sorry, where were you? Please continue. I'm back.
Yeah, Carl. So I just thought I might as well just crack on, just giving some ideas about websites, because as an SEO, I predominantly deal with property managers' websites and how they can, just little things that they can do, certainly during this quieter time, to make their website more engaging, to make it please search engines like Google a little bit more, and to effectively lead to more direct bookings in the end. So I covered video, trust, page speed. What else did we look at? That was probably the main thing, actually. The main things that I touched on. But I would, one thing that's massively important as well, and as we're talking about direct bookings, is, and it's so easy, but so many of us get it wrong, is to make sure you have best price guaranteed up front and center on your homepage. When people get there, they know they're not going to get a better deal elsewhere. Now, hey, some of the OTAs might, at times undercut us, and there's not an awful lot sometimes we can do about that. It shouldn't be the case, but our price should always be, the best price, or at least equal to. But I would make sure you always have best price guaranteed, and also all of those incentives to book direct with you, again, on your website and on your homepage as well. And I've seen some brilliant examples of this recently. Things like, what can you offer someone who books direct with you? An earlier check-in, a later check-in, a free welcome pack, free storage, before or after your stay. There's so many things. Free breakfast, maybe at a local cafe. There's so many little incentives that you can offer like that they know they're not going to get if they book through an OTA. So give them that little carrot, and it can work really, really well. I booked a hotel recently in Barcelona, had to cancel it, unfortunately. Well, I had to postpone my dates, but free breakfast is what they were offering. That's enough for me. They say a way to a man's heart is through his tummy, and that worked. All course, all day. even though it's slightly more expensive than an OTA. But you know,
Creo que está en un webinar una hora.
Yeah. Well, yes, you make a very good point. And some people do it well. They really advertise it, and they, you know, there's a pop-up right in your face when you get on the website, or there's something on the homepage. But I do see a lot of people who don't really, you know, make that distinction and don't really sell it on their website, you know. Yeah. And it is often the case, and most often the case, that people's website is the lowest price, because, you know, people are increasing the price, of course, on, you know, via a channel manager, on Booking, on Airbnb, on all the portals. So yes, I mean, really set yourself up a pop-up, put something on your homepage, you know, make it stand out so it can't be missed, so that the tourist really realizes that, you know, give yourself half a chance, you know.
Yeah, and I'd make sure you include as well that they're not going to pay any extra booking fees by booking with you as well, because obviously that is the case with a lot of OTAs too. Yeah,
definitely. How are we what are the best practices to get people to our website? I've something that people use very well is something called billboarding. And by that term, I mean, you know, being clever with the name of your listing, right? Because people will use OTAs almost as a search engine, almost as a Google, a second Google, you know?
Yeah.
I'll do it myself. I'm sure you probably do too. I'll go on the OTA or the portal, the Airbnb, and find the property that I like. And then I'll try and find that direct property manager, if it's clear that it's a property manager. So sort of how can people adapt their listing to try and get the tourist to their website?
Yeah, it's a really good point. And I mean, a lot of this is down to branding. I mean, I'd say in terms of images that you're going to use, you do have to be careful by abiding. If you're thinking of visitors going to an OTA, seeing something on your images where they can, you know, see a best price, you know, go to our website, you've got to be careful with that, because I've seen companies lose their listings just like that for doing that. Yep. So I probably wouldn't advise that necessarily, because, well, yeah, for exactly that reason, OTAs may kick you off. But in terms of branding, the name of your business or the name of your property, yeah, I mean, that's so easy. Just to make sure that in your listing, in your listing description, you've got the name of your actual property. So people don't have to, you know, delve too much into a bio or anything like that. They know what your business is called. They can go off then and just find you easily. And again, this is going to come down to your SEO and making sure that your branding has been done well with your website, with your title tags and all of the things involved in SEO. But yeah, really important. I mean, branding is something that I think 90% of property managers don't really kind of take for granted and don't really look into enough. One person I'd really recommend for this is Louise Brace of Rental Tonic. She did an amazing talk at one of the conferences I did in February, just all about branding, all about why you should be booking with us. And yeah, so I'd recommend checking her out. But yeah, just making sure, you know, at very least, you have a name for your business, because just putting down a 2-bedroom apartment in Marbella or something like that, you know, people aren't going to find you through doing that without them really seeing clearly what your business name is or your property name. Hopefully, then if they come onto search engines to try and find you, they will through the search engine results or the knowledge panel, which is down the right hand side. I'm talking about Google here specifically, and your Google My Business profile is going to be of utmost importance here to make sure that if you work on that, your brand name will be up front and center on that clear knowledge panel on the right hand side. Really easy to find you that way. So yeah, I totally agree with that, Carl.
Very good. Yeah. Have you covered the Google My Business part? Have you gone into that?
No, well, yeah, I mean, Google My Business is so important. And again, something a lot of us don't really do, don't even claim our listings first thing, if anyone hasn't done it yet, claim your listing on Google My Business. It's really easy to do. You get a postcard sent out to your address to verify your address. And it's just a case of going in and making sure everything is ticked, everything is done, all of your services and amenities are chosen. You've got descriptions, you are engaging with your reviews, you get your short name. I mean, it's almost too much for me to cover here, Kyle. There's a lot. Loads of high-res images is one of the most important things, I'd say. But I'm going to, I said to you before, I'm going to post something on the Avantio Facebook group or one of your groups from, again, one of the speakers, Phil Tester, who did a fantastic talk on Google My Business at my last event. And I'll put that on there. It's how to optimize your Google My Business profile. Really, really useful. So yeah, it's something I'd certainly recommend for everyone here.
Fantastic. Well, at Avantio, we've got a sort of a COVID-19 page. I think we've probably gone 21 minutes without mentioning COVID-19. That must be a record in any webinar.
I did actually mention it very briefly when you were away, but it was just wasn't going to too much.
Okay. Well, we do have a page on Avantio.com with the resources. We are posting videos of the webinars up there, so maybe we can add that to that page as well for everyone so that they can see it. We'll certainly make a note of that. Yeah. Well, we're on the subject now, I suppose. How do you think COVID-19? What do we have to do? How does it sort of change the lay of the land when it comes to direct bookings? Reviews is one thing that I see a lot of. For example, I see a lot of people. They have, that maybe they will favor their reviews on the portals rather than on their own website. I see a lot of people who don't necessarily have reviews on their website. And I say, well, why don't you have reviews on your website? I say, well, is the tourist going to leave a review in 2 places? Maybe not. Maybe I've got a better chance of them leaving 1 review on 1 place. And I prefer that place to be, Airbnb or Booking or whatever. How important are reviews in general, and sort of, how is that going to change, do you think, or evolve, given the situation?
Yeah, I mean, they're massive. I think everyone on here would know the power of reviews, and how people do use reviews in terms of their search and their final decision making. Personally, on my website, I would probably aggregate your reviews from a number of your listing sites, so you can bring them all together, and you can even link back to your listings if you want, just so people can actually see that they're legitimate and they have come from those, your Airbnbs and your bookings of this world. So yeah, that in terms of your website, that's what I would probably recommend. There's no harm at all in reviews being on your website and another listing site. Google is a big place that I would recommend people to try and get reviews from. And it really does help in your ranking as well. So you can get a short name now in your Google My Business profile, which is really easy to send out to all of your previous guests. And then they can, very simply, they'll probably automatically be logged into Google. So they can really simply write your review there. And then essentially that helps with your local SEO on Google. And then you can just take that and just bring that into your own site. So yeah, they'd probably be my recommendations. But look, I know there's a lot of people here who are going to spend years building up their number of good reviews on listing sites, and you obviously you don't want to lose that, and you want to kind of nurture that as well, and obviously I'm not about OTA bashing at all, as we spoke about online yesterday, Kyle. It's, OTAs have a great place. They mean a lot to all of us, and they will continue to for quite a while. But for me, it's all about diversification and looking at now getting for the future, looking at alternative sources of bookings, and Google is a big one, and done right, you can start to really be visible on Google and for people to come to your site that way. So yeah, reviews is a big part of that, and responding to reviews on Google is really important too. So yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's always one, isn't there? As I said, there's always going to be a bad review. But I think responding to them it shows as a consumer, we've all been on holiday. We've all looked at, we go to TripAdvisor and look for the good restaurants, And there's always a few people that leave bad reviews, but even when you see someone respond constructively and politely and professionally to the review, you know, we all understand that, you know, there will be negative reviews, but it's nothing to be, you know, afraid of, I suppose, as long as you can respond.
Yeah, you know, and for me, if I, you know, for me, there's nothing wrong with actually having occasional negative reviews in there. It makes, you know,
real.
A bit more authentic, a bit more real. Exactly. Yes. Not 100% gave you 5 stars or whatever. You know, there'll be some people who said, it was okay, or, you know, some may have had a problem. But, you know, keeping in contact with your guests during their stay is a really great way to eliminate that. And making sure the day before they leave, just to say, hey, has everything been great? You know, drop them an email or an SMS. SMS marketing is really, really efficient. Really, it's a really great way to keep in contact with people, and very underutilized as well. I would recommend keeping in contact with people during their stay. You know, not blasting them every day, but just maybe once the day they arrive, once the day before they leave. It's a great way to eliminate any negative reviews.
Absolutely, yeah. Obviously, well, you and I, we do the show circuit, or we did the show circuit within the sector, and so, you know, you end up traveling a lot, working in the tourism business, of course, which is fantastic, and one of the reasons why we love it. And we always try as a company to stay with customers wherever we go, you know. If it's possible, if it's at all possible, we will stay with a customer, an Avantio customer. And you do pick up some very good tips, you know. Customers in London, they have, you know, their own sort of branded pillows, cushions, you know, but even tea bags, you know, it's little things like that which helps, because you if you're like me, you'll take the tea bags home with you. And it just sort of helps to keep the brand, as you sort of were mentioning earlier, in mind, and know that you are staying with a real company that you could book direct with.
Yeah,
you know, you're not
kind of in line with you saying that. Sorry to cut you off there.
No, go on.
Just while I think of it, you know, obviously our industry has gone very much towards automated tools, and to make the check-in process as simple as possible for a lot of people. You know, smart locks, you don't have to see anyone. But I think what's been lost a lot with that is actually the value of face-to-face, of meeting someone. And I think there's real value there in terms of if it's just for 5 or 10 minutes upon arrival, you've either yourself or you've got someone who you can give, you know, 15, 20 euro to, just to say, hey, you know, check someone in, give them the Wi-Fi codes or whatever, and just make sure they first of all, they're welcome, but they find out, you know, why are they there? Is there anything that they can do to really help? You know, are you going to stay again? Here's the, you know, 10% discount for the next time you stay. That's a really, really good and, you know, relatively cheap way to get people to come back to you. And if you know why they're there as well, you know, you can add them to a very specific database list as well, if they're coming for a specific event or, you know, a particular activity or something like that. So, you know, you can target them very, very specifically.
Absolutely.
Next time, email marketing.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, staying with a customer recently in London, and you know, they had a business card left on the table. You know, it was a business card with the brand. Stay with us next time, and you get, you know, 10% off. Use this code. And I thought, what a genius idea! So simple. How much does it cost to print off 1,000 business cards?
Exactly. Yeah.
How much money could you save from just having printed off 1,000 business cards? If you got 1% conversion from 1,000 business cards, I'm not going to do the math now, but that's a lot of money. That's a huge return from something so simple.
Yeah, that's one of the things actually that I did kind of way back in the day as well, and it's something that's carried on to be really effective for many years. It's one of the first things I would say to any client actually to drive repeat business. So easy, so easy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy, it's quick, it's cheap and effective. Yeah. Maybe you've touched on it already, but obviously it's very, very important for us to get the real contact details of a guest. You mentioned it right at the beginning. What is a direct booking? Well, it's someone where I have, you know, I have control over, and I have the contact details. Maybe you've touched on that while I was panicking and trying to fix my internet, but and maybe it's quite obvious, but it needs to be stressed. You know, we have to get the real email address, the real contact information of the guest, you know? Mm-hmm. Airbnb and Booking.com have their own email addresses, but it's amazing how many people don't, take the actions needed to get the real contact information and try and get a repeat booking, which is then a direct booking.
Yeah, the onus is on us to make sure we get the data for every single guest, you know, and that's, again, that's really easy, you know, if it's just a Google form that you're going to send to every booker, just to say, hey, you know, let us make your booking as you know, as pleasurable as possible. Sign up, use this form, give us your details, you know, and we can give you an earlier check-in or something like that. Very easy subject field as well. What's your email address? Then you've got it, or their phone number, mobile number for SMS, etc. But something I'd also add, we're all inclined just to look at the lead guest data, but we're also really missing out on getting all of the parties' guest data.
Good point. Very good point.
So I would, and not only that, also friends and family. You know, are there friends and family who you would potentially recommend our place to? You know, could be before or after the stay. You know, have a form that could send that out on your site, and then you've got all their details too. Obviously, you make sure they have to be opted in too, so they will have to do that afterwards. But yeah, really easy way to if your database is not very big, if you've got only 1 or 2 people on it, now is a great time to be doing that. To be, you know, to be just getting in contact with all of your previous guests, and make sure, you know, can you opt them into a newsletter, and for all your future guests, just make sure you get that email address. Probably one of the most important things. And as I said, the onus is on us to do that with every single guest, in guests like non-lead guests, non-paying guest included.
Definitely, yeah. And I think, as you say, incentivizing is key, you know? If there's a carrot, then people are more likely to do that, you know? I know we have a customer in Portugal who implements sort of a loyalty program, like you referred to. You know, if you're referring people and they come stay with us, then, you know, later on, of course, you know, we'll reward you for doing that. And it seems to work very well for them. One question I sort of had for us to sort of debate was, you know, with all that's gone on with, and it's been well documented, you know, cancellations on the portals and the OTAs, you know, in many cases they favored the traveler, but in a lot of cases, you know, I'm sort of seeing a lot of feedback, you know, which is the opposite, that people have lost, you know, their money booking on an OTA or on a portal due to cancellation. There's a bit of a dichotomy there, isn't there? Because, you know, the OTAs are trying to protect their interest and offer people, you know, almost, you know, risk-free bookings with, you know, very, very liberal and flexible cancellation policies. Do you think we're going to see, but again, there are people that have lost out. Do you think that we're going to see more direct bookings or fewer direct bookings in the sort of immediate aftermath of all of this? I mean, it's difficult. No one's got a crystal ball, but what are your sort of thoughts on that, you know, with the impact of cancellation fees and any sort of advice on cancellations policies?
Yeah, look, I think there's no getting away from it. For the next 6 months, we're all going to have to be looking at making our cancellation policies a lot more flexible. And I think this is something that, again, is going to be an extra incentive that you can offer your prospective guests when they come to your website. You know, free cancellation. Look, none of us want that, but I think guests are going to expect this for the rest of this year at least, anyway. And I think we're going to have to really abide by that. But, you know, it's not only that. There's going to be a lot of things we're going to need to be aware of. And again, without talking too much about COVID, but our cleanliness and our hygiene levels are going to be scrutinized like never before. So we're going to need to get that across, how our properties are, you know, deep cleaned, or however you want to word it. But there will be, you know, a lot of scrutiny on that too. You know, whether people have an perspective of hotels maybe being more clean or not, I don't know necessarily, but we will need to get that across on our message on our websites. midterm stays are going to be really important now for the next couple of months at least. 30-day plus stays, they're going to be important. So you need to make sure your site is optimized that within your booking processes, and also on your site, just to say, we reduce stays for 30 days plus, or however you want to look at that. But sorry, going back to your question about the OTAs, look, there's no doubt they have truly effed up over the last few weeks, and I think direct bookings, I think owners and managers are going to be going out of their way now to think, right, we don't want all of our bookings to come from OTAs, 90 odd percent, which is really common still. What else can we do to push our own? So in that respect, I think us all, we're going to be a lot more proactive. And I think for that reason, the direct bookings, our number of direct bookings will increase.
Very good. Customer has sort of thrown it out there that potentially, and it's only sort of an idea, maybe a thought out loud, but potentially people could, and this is not a question, but potentially people could, use a stricter cancellation policy on the OTAs and have a more flexible one on their own site. So for these people who do, find the listing on the OTA, and then they're smart enough to find the real direct listing, let's say, they see, okay, well, not only is the price lower, the best rate, but also the cancellation policy is more favorable. So a bit of food for thought there, maybe.
There is, but there's so much pressure on managers to have flexible, and there will be more so over the next 6 months on OTAs to have more flexible cancellation policies to rank higher. So I think that's going to have problems in itself in that respect. If you're kind of hoping that your visitor is someone who sees your listing is going to go off and make that comparison by finding your website. So yeah, I mean, I certainly see the value in that. But you've also got to weigh up, how likely are you to drop down the rankings on an OTA if you do that.
Exactly,
So is there a risk in doing that? Because, there's no doubt OTAs play a huge role, in providing those bookings. Do you want to risk that? I don't know. That's up to each and every one of us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very hard to throw a blanket across everyone, but something to mull over anyway, give it a moment's thought later on in the day anyway. Obviously, the people that we're appealing to and marketing to get direct bookings is dramatically changing now, isn't it? We have, for example, at Avantia, we have lots of, let's say, agencies in Spain and Portugal for whom their typical guest is maybe British or German or Scandinavian, and of course, domestic versus international, we all know what's going to happen there. There's going to be, this summer, if there is a summer indeed, you're going to have domestic travelers, right? Your guests are going to be domestic.
Absolutely.
So that obviously has implications, and we need to take that into account, don't we, on our websites. And so what should people be doing to encourage sort of domestic travelers? Are there any sort of ideas there?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one that comes off the top of my head is parking. What kind of parking do you provide? Because a lot of these guests will be driving.
Absolutely.
And very concise travel information on your website as well, so they know exactly, how to get from the nearest train station if they're not driving or anything like that. Really easy way to actually rank on search engines as well for travel related information. But yeah, I mean, as we know, Kyle, in Spain, there's not going to be a huge amount of international travel here for the next, 4 or 5 months, which is going to be crippling for a lot of people. So we're going to be relying a lot on domestic travel. So I mean, sites, for example, who don't maybe necessarily concentrate on their on different languages, they might have to now.
Absolutely.
We're going to have to. We're going to have to change what we even write on our website. Who's our target market?
Absolutely.
And I think that should be the case for any property manager anyway. We should know who our target market is, but now it's going to be more focused on the location as well and that demographic. And I mean, for example, down where I am currently, near Malaga, you know, most people here are probably going to be coming from big cities, especially from Madrid over the summer. So, you know, they're the ones that we're going to have to appeal to on our websites now, as opposed to the British, you know, maybe traditionally, or Scandinavians. So yeah, there's it's not going to be easy. Yeah.
No, absolutely. But you make a very good point, and the language is key. You know, if you're based in Spain or France or Portugal and your website is in English only, then you need to get out your Spanish dictionary. And we've all got time to do that now. It's one of these things that maybe, oh, well, I'll do it. You know, I'll put it off and I'll do it later. Well, now's the time when you should be doing it, and we've all got a bit more time to do that. So language is so important. You know, it really is. You know, not everyone has a fantastic level of English, of course, and you know, confidence is key, isn't it, when making a direct booking, or any kind of booking really, but especially a direct booking, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So
and
to have everything
the kind of the trust element that I was speaking about. I'm not sure if you missed that bit, but yeah, I think that trust element goes hand in hand with how you talk to somebody as well, and how you get your message across on your site.
Yeah. Social media, have we touched on that? Is that a good way of getting people onto your site? I'm not on Instagram myself. I'm probably the only one, but
I'm not on Instagram either, Kyle. You know, the thing is, what I say to people about social media is, and I'm not an expert at all on social media, and that's why, you know, I started my events, because I knew there were better placed to talk about social media and certain things than me. So my main piece of advice with social media is, whilst it's a great way to engage, you know, your group of people, your followers, on a regular basis, you need to make sure you can dedicate the necessary time to this, you know. And if people come on and see that, you know, you may not have been on and I've been guilty of this, and still probably am. If you've not been on a page for, you know, several weeks or months, it just looks bad. So I would just focus on one or two platforms, and make sure you do it well there. Not be too salesy as well. You're talking about your area. You're trying to think about why that prospective guest is interested in your area, or, you know, potentially staying with you. So it's not all about sending constant posts about, you know, your property and your discounts, etc. Have we lost you again, Kyle? Chris, are you there?
Possibly, yeah. I think he might have. I think there might be internet problems today, but no, I mean I guess that's very useful. We're continuing talking about the social media aspects there, Damian.
Yeah. Well, what can I say? You know, there's so many platforms we can look at. I mean, there's even more visual ones like Pinterest that are quite underused. Which are worth looking at. As I said, I'm not going to suggest that I'm an expert on social media and how to get people through to your site or get them booking. You know, there are people better placed than me to talk about that. But it's certainly something we should all be doing, without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Just going to need to unmute Kyle here. Hang on one sec. Okay, Kyle, I think you're back in.
Sorry, I just popped out to the shop to get some milk. I realised I'd forgotten. But I'm back now. Okay, great. Damian, you mentioned your conference, your show. What's the name of it? Forgive me if you have mentioned it.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure if I had. It's called the Book Direct Show. Very simple, and really, the premise is all of these things. As I just said a moment ago, Carl, I'm not an expert on social media, but I know people who are. I'm not an expert on branding, but I know, you know, one or two people who are. So we had an event on in London called the More Bookings Direct Conference, which we invited, actually, including panelists, we had about 15 or 16 people talking for a day, just all about strategies and how people can generate more direct bookings. So I've rebranded it to the Book Direct Show, and yeah, so we're doing an event on in September, 2-day online sadly, you know, I think a venue-based event is going to be too tricky for the rest of this year. So we're doing it exclusively online. And yeah, it's all about the many ways of generating direct bookings. You know, I've touched on a few of them here. I've only scratched the surface, but you know, we've got a small team working with me, and we're approaching a lot of people now to talk to our attendees over a couple of days with pre-recorded webinars and one live day of presentations, featured presentations. So yeah, it's going to be great.
Very good. Well, yeah, make sure you check your internet connection before then, eh?
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be important. We won't do it at your house, Carl.
No, don't invite me. Okay, very good. Well, we've probably got some questions, have we, Chris, in the chat? Have we got a few that maybe we could throw out there to Damian?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I mean, just one. Not too much question. I know you were talking a little bit earlier about iPrac. Damian, if you could share a link for that, that'd be great.
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Let's see what else. This is an interesting one. I think we may have covered this, but the best way to get direct guests to your website, how do we get guests to come on to your website, bringing guests from different channels to the website? I think we've discussed a little bit about that already.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So I think another question is just on the Google, on people giving Google reviews. One guy says here that on Google, everybody can make a review even if they've not been a client of yours. That means that our competitors or people in bad faith can go in there and leave a bad review. Is that true?
Yeah, this is possible. Now it's something I don't come across an awful lot, to be honest, but I have, yes. You can report reviews to Google and say, this is not a legitimate review, this person did not stay with me. So there are ways to kind of deal with that. Having said that, Google can be very slow in responding to those reports. So yes, that person is entirely correct. Yeah, there are ways of people kind of adding these false
negative energy into the world. Yeah, but I think it's probably good. You touched on it there. Is it managing your reviews, seeing who's actually reviewing your site, and obviously responding to that and challenging that person. How did you stay with us? I don't think you have, or you can do that potentially. But yeah, of course, there's still ways to do that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Any other questions here? Okay, I've got Saskia. How can we subscribe for those 2 days in September? So for your show, how can you be subscribed? I'm sure we can get a link from yourself and share it with everyone.
Sure, yeah. I just tried to actually post the iPrac link to everyone, but it looks like it's gone. I'm not sure if it's gone private, but I'll send that one first.
Me, I can then share it with everyone here.
Yeah. Okay. So the iPrac link is just i-prac.com. But just iPrac are going to be involved in our show as well. So you'll find the details on our site. But so the Book Direct show is just bookdirect.show. Very easy domain to remember. And again, maybe I'll just post it in here. But it's all just bookdirect.show, no .com or anything like that.
Bookdirect.show.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll post that in for everybody.
Yeah, very good. There it is.
Okay, let's see. Another question from, let's see.
Actually, Chris, do you mind if I just say one quick thing? Just in terms, and Kyle as well, in terms of our show as well, what we're doing is we are collating what people want to hear about as well. So we've got about 20 speakers confirmed so far, but everyone who actually signs up, we're asking them what they want to learn about. And that will dictate what the rest of the speakers that we're going to be signing up over the next couple of months. So it's a very interactive, and we hope kind of different event like that we're it's all going to be generated around the attendees.
Okay, good. Got a question from Gabriella relating to the reviews. Is merging reviews from the portals onto our website to be something Avantio would be able to develop? I think, Kyle, we have some with that at the moment, right? We have with Home Away, for example.
So with Avantio specifically, your booking.com reviews come inside Avantio. You'll find them under web and reviews. Home away reviews, we push to home away, but we don't pull. I think home away are happy to receive reviews for the properties, and of course. In terms of Airbnb, I don't know. We are. I don't know if it's in the API. I'll have to double check, but it's a good point. I'll certainly ask the technical bots what's what there, and if it's possible to get at those reviews via the API. The API that they have, it will depend whether it's in there or whether they want you to be able to get at them, you know. So it's a good point, Gabriella. We'll certainly check up on it, and let you know.
Okay, good. Let's see, okay, it's a good idea. Bea, should we show a cleaning certificate during the pandemic? Should we be more aggressive through discounts at this time, or invest more in marketing for the properties? So cleaning certificates, should we be more aggressive through discounts or invest more in marketing? I suppose they're all kind of rolled into one there, really. What do you guys think?
Hard for me to say which you should prioritize necessarily. I think we should be looking at all of them. In terms of marketing, actually, it's a really great time to be looking at a Google Ads campaign, because actually they're remarkably cheap at the moment. Now, I know a lot of people are not going to be looking necessarily. The search isn't going to be as high, but you know, minimum thresholds have come down a lot, and it's really exceptionally cheap at the moment to carry out a campaign on Google Ads. So that's something I'd certainly look at. That could be quite inexpensive. In terms of certificates, I don't know. I mean, that's going to vary from region to region, from country to country. So not something I feel, you know, really qualified to talk about. But it's certainly something that I think guests will need to at least see that you're aware of the cleanliness, and that's something you take seriously.
Yeah, that's good. Good. I think we touched a little bit on this yesterday on our webinar, but as regards, I agree with all the SEO advice you shared. Do you think we should also be more specific on stating in our listings marketing the cleaning, disinfection measures we have adopted, like disinfectant keywords and things like that in your listings? In
terms of driving organic traffic and SEO, I wouldn't be too concerned about that. For the moment, at least. I would be more looking at traditional SEO, and what I mean by that is, you know, for those who don't do any SEO or don't really know what it is, I mean, the very basics at it are, you know, carrying out keyword research and knowing what your prospective clients are looking for. I'll put in a couple of links here, some sites that I recommend for that. But yeah, in terms of cleaning and search phrases around cleaning, no, I wouldn't be too concerned about that at the moment. It's just when they arrive at your site, making sure that they can clearly see that you take it seriously.
Okay, good. Let's see. How much time do we have, Kyle? Is it 5 minutes or so?
Yeah, you got another 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. This question, I think, is in relation to Google Business. Let's see. If this is a more specific question, we can come back to you. But this question is from Rody. As property managers, would you say we should add the holiday homes we manage as a product to our Google My Business, or should each home have its own listing?
Yeah, it's a really good question. For me, I would advise for each property to have their own listing on Google My Business. Yeah, I think it's just generally best practice, but also for the local map, which is where people, you know, if they put in certain search terms, you know, you'll probably have seen there's quite often a little map at the top with listings on there. You've got a better chance of multiple listings showing on there. And I think if you've got different names for different properties, then it makes much more sense to do that. So yeah, separate listings for separate properties would be my advice.
Okay, good. And just to follow on to that, what was the name of the person you recommended? The guy about You made a recommendation about a branding fella.
I just put in a little note in the chat about that. But it's a she. Her name is Louise Brace. Sorry if I'm talking too quick. Louise Brace, and she is works at a company called Rental Tonic. She spoke again. What I might do, Kyle, with you is I might send her presentation at the February conference. She was brilliant talking about branding, and I can post it on your wall. But she'll be speaking again in September. So yeah, really delighted to have her. So Louise Brace of Rental Tonic.
Great. Yes, I think we will be sending sort of an email after the talk today. Next week it will be, and to all the participants here today, and we can definitely make sure to include those links and that in that email. I think as a follow up, so that everyone has them.
Yeah, great.
Okay, I think that's all the questions that we have at the moment. Possibly just one more here, probably time for one more. Next on the list here is, what about Google AdWords? After website SEO, there is a payment SEO, so for pay-per-click campaigns on Facebook, Instagram, internal linking and Avantio listing descriptions. Do you have any comments on that, so to speak, or anything on PPC?
Yeah, so I think I just touched on it a minute or two ago. Yeah, I would certainly recommend looking into Google AdWords. I think it's an exceptionally cheap time to do that for the next 6 weeks or so, until June. And yeah, for me, Facebook ads can work out to be quite expensive, and you can go through a budget very quickly. So yeah, my advice would be to look at Google Ads. And yeah, a campaign with long-tailed keywords. And for anyone who doesn't know what they are, they're generally known as search phrases that are 3 words or more. They have less amount of search for them, but they are generally more targeted. So people who use more words have a greater level of intent and are more likely to actually convert. So it's something I would recommend, carrying out some keyword research, which I will add some links in for the guys to share with everyone. Some free tools, which are really easy to use, and then put them into your Google Ads campaign. And yeah, and hopefully, you can bring in cheap traffic to your site. Hey, there's no guarantee of, once someone reaches your site to actually get them to make a direct booking, but hopefully a couple of the things that I've mentioned today should resonate with your guest, and hopefully at least, you get an inquiry from them or get their data.
Okay, I think that about wraps it up. Thanks very much, Damian. I think there was just one more question if we have a short bit of time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, last question.
It's more of a question for everybody from Karine. She's looking for, is everybody here making drastic discounts at the moment for the period from now until the end of June or later? Everybody here is looking for some general advice, or is everyone here making drastic discounts at the moment, or significant discounts for holidays in the summer? Saskia says no.
I don't think everyone is. No, I think everyone is very conscious and very aware that they need to be more flexible with their length of stays. Minimum stays, maybe long stay discounts are very advisable now. If you look at the data, people are booking longer stays now. So I think something that we should all be doing is looking at incentivizing people who are booking for a long stay. Hey, if you get a booking of 2 weeks, then fantastic. I'm sure there's a bit of margin that we can all give on a long stay booking. Certainly, last minute discounts. People are booking late as well. They're not booking way into the future. If they need to book a place now, it's because they have an immediate need. They have to self-isolate. They have to go and visit someone, or they want to escape from where they are. Whether they should be doing it or allowed to do it is another matter, depending on where you are. But yes, I would certainly encourage people to look at last-minute discounts and long-stay discounts.
Yeah, but alongside that, though, my advice wouldn't be, and I know people are going to be desperate to get bookings, and I see this, and we've all seen this, people are lowering their rates to the fact that, to a place where they're hardly making money, and it's, by the time they pay the cleaning fees, it's almost not worth it. So I would be hesitant to reduce my prices too drastically. Yeah, we're all going to have to reduce our prices without a doubt over the next few months, but that, maybe your time is, better served working on some of these things that we've spoken about, rather than just taking in a booking that's going to make you minimal amount. Because, well, yeah, is it worth it? For me, it wouldn't be.
Okay.
The long-term stays, yeah, definitely you can reduce those down a good bit, and obviously you don't have generally you don't have cleaning fees amongst a long stay.
Okay. I think I just have a question from
Go on, Chris. Go on. Sorry.
Jose's got his hand up here. I think I'll just unmute him. See what it is. Hi, Jose. Did you need to ask a question or?
No, I'm okay. The only issue is just how can we increase the number of visitors to our own website, because you know that every time a traveler goes online, the first website showing up will be booking.com, Airbnb, HomeAway probably, or VRBO, like they are knowing now. And it's a hard work to make our website comes above those ones and attract people to our website. We have in all our property names the name of our company. So let's say apartment X by our property name, and there are only a few clients coming direct because they realize that this is the name of the company, they have their own website, let's go and see there, we get a better price and so on. But this is really, I don't know, maybe 3-4% of the guests that book with us.
Yeah, Jose, it looks nice where you are. It's undoubtedly really, the SEO is difficult, and I do courses for this specifically because, it takes a couple of hours even just to get the basics of SEO. In terms of ranking on search engines above OTAs, yeah, extremely difficult for short-tailed phrases. And what I mean by that is just, for example, Madrid vacation rental. You're never going to rank for that above an OTA, or a large property management company in that city. It's going to be very difficult. It's not worth even trying. So there are certain tactics that are worth looking at, things that people do and search for when they're actually visiting an area, to try and rank for that, because these are things that the OTAs are not going to actually write about on their site. They're not going to rank for. What I mean by that is, for example, local events in your area, writing about those events, or writing about local travel, how to get from the airport to a certain area in your town or your village. These are really easy, well, not easy, but done well. There are ways to rank on that first page of Google, and they are what your guest is looking for. So yeah, they're more longer-tailed keyword searches, but they don't have necessarily as much traffic to them, but they can be a high level of intent there. But this is why your keyword research and finding out what your guests are looking for is really important. A few tools that I would recommend just to do your keyword research would be, well, there's Keyword Planner in the Google Ads campaign, which a lot of people use. I don't find it great myself, but I would suggest a really simple tool like Google Autocomplete. So when you write in, for example, the name of your town, your village, your city, Google will usually try to autocomplete a phrase for you. And these are phrases that people have actually, searched for in the past on Google. A really easy way to find out some search terms that are out there. Also the related to at the bottom. So when you do a search for anything in Google, most of the time, if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, there will be a related to area. And these are phrases that people also have searched for, loosely related to the phrase that you have searched for. There is a great tool called Answer the Public. And that's Answer the Public. And you put in a lead term in there. It could be just your town name or your city name. And then it brings back a whole load of data about what phrases and questions and prepositions that people are using around that term, which is a really great way to find out what people are looking for. Because we all have ideas about what we think our clients are searching for online. It's never what they actually are looking for. It's always different. I guarantee it. You will be surprised. But yeah, some keyword research is really important. And Uber Suggest as well. I'd also recommend checking that out.
Uber Suggest.
Uber Suggest, yeah.
Okay.
The first one was Keyword Planner, right? Keyword Planner.
That's a Google Ads tool. Yeah, Keyword Planner. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's if you're running a Google Ads campaign. However, I'd probably recommend everyone takes a look at that anyway.
Very good. Okay, well, I think it's probably about time that we wrap things up. Damian, you do offer SEO consultancy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And at the moment, I'm doing free consultations for anyone who's interested. So I'm quite happy to look at anyone's website here and give some free advice. And if you want to take it further, that's fine. But yeah, my email address, if they want, if I'm permitted to give it out, Kyle.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no problem there. Yeah.
Damian at seoconnect.co.uk. But yeah, I'll be working on the Book Direct show as well. We're going to have some speakers talking about SEO. So that is the bookdirect.show.
Okay, well, if you could put that in the chat then, or someone could you type that in? Just so they've got the spelling.
Damian, is it D-A-M-I-A-N? Yeah.
I-A-N, yeah.
That's seoconnect.co.uk.
Yep.
Okay. Perfect. That's
fantastic. Well, as I say, that about wraps it up for today. Thanks everyone for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed it. Sorry about the connection issues earlier. I'm just glad I was able to return. As I say, we will be sending a follow-up email to all of you.
I can't hear Kyle properly.
Kyle, we've lost your speaker. You're speaking very low. Okay. Were you just wrapping it up? I've completely lost him now. Yeah. It's a bad internet day for Kyle, I think. We've all had them. So yeah, I think what we'll do is a few of the questions. This webinar will be available. The full recording will be available and will be sent to all participants. Just want to take the opportunity to thank everyone for joining us today. It was very insightful, very useful, and if you manage to put in any of the small tips and tricks, they should be a big benefit to you. Okay, thank you all so much, and we'll leave it there for now.
Thanks everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye everyone.
Bye, Damian. See you later. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Cheers, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Scott. Cheers, Chris. See you.
Thanks everyone. Take care.